Good evening to the folks at home, and welcome to See You at USC on Friday night. My name is Dan Toomey, and joining me tonight is a very special guest. It's our showrunner, Sam Newman, for the finale episode of See You at USC. It's bound to be a great interview. Stay tuned. And thank you once again for sticking with us through that introduction. Once again, my name is Dan Toomey, and tonight we have the distinct honor of having a very special guest. He's a sophomore here at USC, but he also happens to be the showrunner of this very program, Mr. Sam Newman. Sam, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure to have you on.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've never been in the studio before.
I know. How does it feel being on the other end of things?
It's interesting. I'm a little worried about what's going on in the control room.
What?
I have confidence though. We have our new showrunner who's actually going to be taking over for me.
Really?
Bella. She will be.
Okay.
She's in the control room right now, making sure everything's going
What's
super smoothly.
the usual atmosphere in the control room during this time?
Oh, right now it's relief. At this
Really?
point, like as soon as like the legal ID and the intro go smoothly, I'm like, okay, the show can work from here.
Sure. So I mean, this is your final episode as being the showrunner for See You at USC. Does that? Are you excited about it? Are you nervous for next year? Or?
It's definitely a mix of emotions
Sure.
because I mean, as showrunner, I'm here every night. So I've done for the past 2 semesters. So I have been here for about 100 shows over the last year as showrunner, and then about a few more shows before that as an associate producer, and then a senior producer the year before.
Wow.
So being here every night and this chunk of time in my schedule, without that next semester, you know, it's gonna be some time to fill.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the work that we've done in the past year with all of my amazing teams, like all my amazing hosts like you, Dan, and the 4 others, and all the senior producers and associate producers. They're all great.
Yeah.
So I definitely was very lucky with the team that helped me along this journey.
Sure. Any favorite episodes that we've had, especially this season?
This season we've had a lot of interesting people. No big celebrities, but I think we turned away from that and talked to a lot of interesting people who are doing a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, we had a very
industry.
intellectual season, I feel like.
There were a lot of people who, you know, when I was sitting down thinking about guests that I wanted to invite on the show, you know, I thought a lot about, you know, what questions do I have for these guests that I, you know, every day of my life. I'm like, oh, you know, I take the train every day. I would love to talk to the person in charge of the trains. So we had a few people from Metro on. We had the head of the Writers Guild on this semester. We've had a few vice presidents and a lot of VR stuff, which has been a lot of fun for me to learn about. You know, CU's really about that. It's an opportunity to really delve deep into people's professions that you may not hear about all the time.
And was that, I guess, what vision did you have for the show coming in when you first, you know, heard that, okay, I'm going to be taking it over next season?
I mean, you always hope that you're going to get, you know, big guests every night. And, you know, I think you quickly come to the realization that that's not possible. I mean, we're not The Tonight Show. We're not, you know, a big show. So to have a big celebrity, like a household name every single night for 100 shows is kind of a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So what I kind of switched to was, you know, who will I be interested to come to work every night to see?
Okay.
You know, I always say that every night the crew is different and my producers are different, so I look forward to coming and seeing them. But during this half hour of the show, what's going to keep me interested? What's going to keep me focused? And I feel like we really did elevate the level of guests by varying that up.
This second half of the season, or just this season overall?
This second half of the season, I think that we've really done it.
Really?
But in the first season, last semester, when we were working on that, I think that we slowly got better, and it was a learning curve, as with everything.
I was going to say, is that what you think is the defining factor of this season and compared to past ones, is just like the category of guests that we've had, or?
I would say that, but I also say, I think in choosing the hosts this year, we turned a little bit, just because I wanted to. Yes, that's all. It's you. It's all of our great hosts.
Sure.
Because I wanted to add a level of energy
Okay.
to see you that I didn't think existed before, and that's not a knock on any of the other hosts that have happened in the past.
Sure.
I just thought that overall we needed to pick up the energy in terms of the hosts in order for a few things, to make our guests more comfortable, to make the audience more engaged, and just for, you know, it's selfish, but I like to have a good time watching the show. So if I know the host and I know the host is having a good time, or on camera or off camera, I'm going to have a good time.
Yeah, because I think the nature of this show is to have you want to make it seem like it's a discussion between two friends, because I feel like you can get the most out of those as opposed to, say, just a lecture from a doctor. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, completely. And we meet with the guests before this show around 6 o'clock every night.
Sure.
And I always make sure to mention that CU is a conversation. It's not question answer. We're not sitting there drilling you on something.
No.
If we're going to have a conversation about something, it may take the full 30 minutes or it may take 10 minutes. We drive the conversation however you'd like it to go as the guest.
Sure. And so now you're, for those who may not know exactly Sam's major, you're a cinema student here at USC. Now, how has your position as showrunner, or even your experience with Trojan Vision, helped inform what you do as a student of cinema?
It's actually informed a lot.
Really? Because
something that I never thought that I would need to learn is something that I learned so much by doing CU, which is dealing with publicists. And dealing, So a big part of my job is emailing and talking with publicists every day, all day.
Yeah.
And so that job really revolves around learning to speak their language.
What is their language?
Well, it's very to the point, making sure to mention things over and over and over again so that they know it. Because they're really busy. They're dealing with a lot of clients all the time. So to make sure you say, oh, we ask our guests to be here at 5:45 to 6, over and over and over again is important so that the guests don't get here late.
Yeah, and is dealing with publicists something that you anticipated coming in, or it just completely took you off guard?
I didn't realize how much I was doing it.
Really?
A lot of, I think that our crews and our hosts and a lot of the associate producers and all that see the show happening here.
Okay.
But so much of the show happens outside of here before we get here.
That's true.
And I think that I didn't realize how much of that I was going to have to do.
Sure. So just sorry to cut you off, but walk us through that process a bit. So how does the season start for the showrunner? What are the first steps you take?
The first steps I take, besides from casting the host and all that stuff, in terms of booking guests, I think of 30 to 50 people that I want to reach out to. And that it's not a list. I don't sit down and brainstorm. It's kind of like, oh, this is an interesting person to reach out to. So then I go on their website, I try and find how I can contact them, and it's just that process of emailing them.
Sure.
And, we do 50 plus shows a semester. And, we rely on associate producers to book some of those guests. But sometimes if that guest falls through or, we're missing a date, then that's my job to kind of step in and say, we need a guest here. Because this show operates on guests.
Absolutely.
If there's no one sitting on this side of the couch, there's not much we can do. And I think if any one of you is a longtime viewer of this show, you would notice.
And we hope you
that
are.
when we do that, sometimes we don't have a guest, and you can probably tell those days when we have a student.
We'll have a student here for the first half.
Not
of the
one
episode.
of these days. This one was planned from the beginning. I promise.
The secret has been revealed.
Yes.
As to why we have so many students on sometimes.
Yes, because it's one of those worlds where sometimes people either something comes up or they forget. So it's hard.
Well, I mean, that speaks a lot to the challenge of your position is that not every show runs perfectly. I mean, do you think has it required a lot of improv on your part, would you say?
The worst thing for me is when I'm either sitting at work or sitting in a class and I get an email from either an associate producer or a publicist saying that the guest canceled for that night. And I'm like, ugh.
Which has
for a second I thought that I didn't have anything to do right now, and then it's just about emailing 100 publicists, texting my senior producers and being like, do we know anyone who could come on last minute?
Sure.
Because sometimes it's hard to ask someone to come in if it's 3 o'clock on a Friday to be somewhere for 6:30.
Especially when you're like, can you be here in 2 hours?
So
need
that's
you
hard,
here.
and especially if we're trying to get some form of a notable guest who has something to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do most days. So there are always shows that are good and some shows that are bad, and I think that we expect that with any show, whether it's at Trojan Vision or at, in the real world, we're always trying to make good shows, but we can't always do that.
Do you have any horror stories from this year as to dealing with a certain guest or trying to or trying to book somebody, I suppose?
We're trying to book somebody.
Or what?
I guess it goes back and forth in terms of a horror story. You hear people say, "Oh, we're super interested in doing it."
Yeah.
And then you offer dates and they never get back to you. It's you have to kind of fill in those dates and recognize, oh, that person isn't actually interested in coming on the show. But in terms of our show, horror stories of coming on the show, if a guest isn't here at 6:30, we've had things when people guests get here like 6:32 and we throw someone else on. Then
Sure.
we have to bring them on during the second half. So we've had those situations. Or where a guest is just not helpful in like what they need set up or anything like that, or they get here late. And you know, you don't blame the guests necessarily because they're all coming, everyone's coming with their own issues and their own stories of what happened just before that. But it's important to be prepared for those situations, and I'm lucky to have a crew that does that.
Yeah, and so now moving forward, given these lessons that you've learned about, you know, improvising to put on a live show every day, how does what you've learned as a member of Trojan Vision inform what you're going to do in the future, would you say?
It's definitely helped with organization, and I think organization is always the most important thing, and preparation. You know, if you're organized and prepared, you will be able to face any problem that comes your way.
You know what, Sam, actually, I'm going to cut you off there because
do we have to go to a commercial break?
We're going to commercial break a little bit early. We have a bit of a surprise for you if you wouldn't mind sticking
no.
around. So
Actually?
take a quick look, and then we'll have a commercial break. Thanks for sticking with us.
What are we looking at?
And welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. Once again, my name is Dan Toomey, and we have the utmost honor of welcoming Mr. Sam Newman to the show. Sam, how are you today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Here, Sam has been the showrunner for this, the most esteemed and prestigious show on Trojan Vision. It's been around for 19 years now, and you've been the showrunner for a couple months, and here we are having this excellent episode.
This episode 3.
No, there we go. You're in two shots. You're on screen.
Oh, there's the 2 shots.
Okay. If you were to die this evening with no opportunity to communicate with anyone, what would you wish you had said?
Happy Thanksgiving. Well, I mean, I would shake my head. Don't do that.
I don't want to be in the same room, by the way, if that conversation's happening.
No, I mean, there's so much about it.
And it's been going, it seems like it's been going on for so long.
Forever.
I actually,
I mean, I can't believe that it's
I can't
tomorrow,
believe that it's ending.
right? What are we going to do with ourselves?
I don't know.
I think we should just take the next 4 years off.
Okay, sounds good.
Starting now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Sam, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having
It was
me,
a blast. Our executive producer here at CU at USC, Sam Newman, thank you once again for joining us. This has been CU at USC on Monday night. Thank you for watching.
Make sure
Don't
to
forget
go
to
out
vote.
And vote.
Don't forget to vote.
Vote. Fight on.
Thanks for watching.
Look at this photograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh. Every time I do it makes me.
God. That is hilarious.
So
Oh my God,
gorgeous.
you guys are the best. That was so funny. I'm not dying though.
And you
so-
remember those episodes, right?
Oh, of
Those-
course I remember those episodes. I mean, the Jewish sweater, See You Without a Guest, is probably my favorite episode of See You that I've ever been a part of, period.
Really?
Yeah, that was just so much fun.
That was
it
fun.
beats Bryan Cranston.
It was. It does beat Bryan Cranston.
beats Bryan
and
Cranston.
Anderson Cooper, I would say. Right?
I wasn't on
Well-
with Anderson Cooper.
Well, he wasn't on with. Oh, you were on during the season of Bryan Cranston.
Yes. I booked Bryan Cranston.
No. Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna go to a quick commercial break, but when we come back, I would love to talk to you if you have time to stick around. Is it possible?
Sure, I guess.
All right. Sam Newman is here with us for the finale episode of See You at USC. Don't go anywhere. Back. Thank you for sticking with us throughout that break, Sam. So, did you enjoy your video?
That was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get to hear it, unfortunately,
Sure,
but from
yeah.
here I could just see all of those moments that I
Well,
remember very clearly.
there's a
All of
way-
it's really not a blur yet. I can't. I
Really?
have to say that I totally remember each day of Trojan Vision.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Long days?
Sometimes, but you know, I think I hired such great crews. Sorry.
Yeah.
Crews and such senior producers and associate producers who were so much fun that I just had a great time every day, and that's why I really looked forward to it. And you know, if I could continue doing Trojan Vision, but just do it where I don't even mind that I'm here every day, but if I got to just hang out and not do any of like the guest booking part,
Oh, that's
that
not
would
the fun
be
part?
that would be the best part. I mean, I think I learned so much from doing the guest booking
Sure.
part for the past year, but just like moving forward, it
Yeah.
would be nice to not do. I don't look. I'm excited to not receive emails all the time
At
from
like
Trojan
12:30
Vision.
at night saying I can't come on the show tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm
so,
excited.
So I guess where do you think your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be on this show?
My legacy is
Yes.
definitely going to be that standing thing that you see at the beginning of the show.
Really? Oh yeah.
I think that
Sam,
will stay
Sam was
for.
the inventor of that.
Yeah, this
Disclaimer.
is the first year that we did the standing, open.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will be a long-standing tradition of Trojan Vision. So hopefully that'll stay
Nice
with
pun.
me. So that'll be
Yeah.
long-standing. I didn't even get it until I said.
Yeah.
it.
So now,
I'm excited for that.
Is what you do here something that you could see yourself doing in the future?
No.
What are Sam Newman's future aspirations?
Well, I mean, I would definitely like to be a producer in the
Okay.
future, not of unscripted television though. I love doing scripted TV. I'm a huge TV-aholic and movie-aholic. I love seeing all of that stuff, and I can see myself in the future doing more executive producing a TV show.
Okay.
Like House of Cards, Breaking Bad, anything along those lines.
Does anything you do here apply to that?
Oh, of
Executive
course.
producing?
I mean,
Sure.
managing a team, managing a crew, managing actors
Yeah.
or performers, and an organization preparation. This show has definitely prepared me for the future.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
What was your initial? Because USC is a school that celebrates cinema so highly. I mean, what initially drew you to not only USC but cinema in general?
Well, I always like to say that when I was a kid, as soon as I learned that I couldn't sing or dance, I moved behind the camera.
Really? So you were an actor originally.
I was an actor originally, and I took acting classes, but I remember because I knew that I wasn't good at any of it, but I remember that I was like, the teacher would be like, so what is everyone's goals? Like, what does everyone want to do? And I said, well, I want to learn to act so I can direct actors. Like, I want to know and this is at me like in 5th grade.
Wow.
So I was from the beginning always knew
You
that
had
I
more
wanted
of a
to
vision
do,
of what you wanted to do in 5th grade than I do right now. So
I'm very lucky in that I've always known what I wanted to do. And I think that I'm very lucky that my parents and like everyone and school really supported me in that process. I mean, it's one thing, you hear stories of a lot of actors and people who come on this couch all the time say, oh yeah, my parents didn't want me to pursue a career in the arts because it's not profitable and all of that.
Not
type of
profitable.
Stuff. Cole
Come
Sullivan.
on, Sam
goodness.
Newman.
What are you doing here?
You know-
we have a guest here.
And I'm gonna come in this way.
So
I'm gonna
we-
sit over
Cole
here.
is my.
I have to come say hello because
Hi.
it's your last show.
It
And I was sitting
is.
at home. I brought gifts of cookies.
Oh my
thank
goodness.
you.
I was sitting at home and I was watching Trojan Vision as
Yes.
I do.
Can someone zoom out on the camera, please?
Yeah, just
Thank
back
you.
up a little bit so we can
Sorry.
get a shot of our-
And
yeah,
I
you
was
know me.
so I was sitting at home watching Trojan Vision and I was like,
Of course.
oh, it's
Right?
me and millions of other people across Los Angeles every single night. And I was watching and I was like, Dan's doing a okay job.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's
I'm 4.5 out of 10. I'll give myself that.
yeah, that's fair. I thought you were gonna say out of 5, and I was gonna take an
Yeah.
issue, but 4.5 out of 10.
Round
it.
So you're like, average. And I was like, it's Sam Newman's last CU show,
It is.
and I couldn't just let you
Exactly.
be here
Thank you.
by yourself.
So now, Cole, let me ask you a question. You have been, for those of you who may not know, Cole Sullivan, legendary host
They
here.
know.
Yeah,
at
they
C-
obviously
they
know who Cole
I'm sorry,
Sullivan
I shouldn't even be. You've worked under many different showrunners.
Yeah.
How has Sam Newman separated himself amongst past showrunners that you've worked with?
Well, I think there's something really special about your first showrunner.
Okay.
And Sam wasn't my first showrunner.
so
and
you're
then
last.
And then your second showrunner is like, is like your first showrunner. It wasn't just a fluke. It's a great showrunner. And then you have your third showrunner, and they're fine.
Yeah.
They're fine.
I think that's how most people would describe my tenure. It was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
there
it
wasn't
was-
any problems, but there wasn't anything to get too excited about.
No. Well, up for debate. No,
Sure.
but it's been wonderful working with Sam. That's why I'm here right now, is because it just was truly such a great
Exactly.
experience to be here and to be
Yeah.
working with you. I wouldn't miss your last show for the
Oh,
world.
thank you, Cole.
And I had to be here. I noticed you said a little bit earlier that one of the exciting parts of the show is one of the reasons the show is so successful is because you hired such a great crew, and they're a great crew here that are part of Trojan Vision. You have great associate producers, all of whom are here as well. Great associate producers, great all the way down the line. But you didn't really mention anything about your host.
I said host. We
He did,
talked
he
about
did.
hosts.
He did actually.
Okay.
Very early in the
Put my foot
program.
down.
though.
Okay.
Very early
I
in the
mentioned my
program.
amazing host.
Yeah, no,
It must
he
have been
gave
while
us
I was
credit.
on my way here. I
Yes,
was running.
when you were
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
saw the
running.
intro and then had to get
during that
over here.
2-minute commercial break.
It was really during the
Absolutely.
2-minute commercial break,
Yeah.
and I don't know, this wonderful crew had a mic ready for me. It was almost
Wow.
like they expected I was coming
Crazy.
down here.
Like the video
Yeah.
was completely random too.
The video,
it was
it was not planned at all. So I have to ask, you've spent, how many seasons have you worked on CU?
4
4.
seasons.
What are you going to take from CU? Like, what memories do you have? I know Dan touched on this a little bit earlier of your favorite episode, but like, what sticks out to you? What's made the most impact about this show?
Well, there are so many things. I mean, I think the best thing that sticks out of it is like the people that I've met along the way. I mean, you're talking about like even beyond students. Like, I mean, because Trojan Vision is obviously a student-run network, so I've got the opportunity to meet so many people over the past year who are amazing and who are all pursuing things that are amazing. So, but I think I really have to like say that Rob, who's been here, I know you guys don't know Rob because he's behind the camera all the time, but he's someone who has worked with me for a year now, over 100+ shows. We've been the only 2 people who have been here every single day. I would come here with Rob, and that's such an amazing experience for me to have like a relationship with someone who knows what we're doing every single night, and someone who I can have a rapport with.
And trust.
And
He's
trust.
great. Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah,
trust
yeah.
between Rob and I. I know that I can come to Rob and be like, Rob, I don't know what to do. We only have 30 minutes before the show. We need a boom mic. What are we gonna do? And I'll be like, Sam, you should have told me yesterday. I will help you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't know till 5 minutes ago. So I think Rob and I mean the whole team at Trojan Vision here has been so great to me. So I definitely take away like the relationships that I built there, as well as just the experience of leading a team of this size. I think that was like, it's a learning experience for everyone, and I'm so lucky that I had a team that was so hardworking.
So that's all nice and good. What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret? Oh, I didn't get a huge celebrity.
You had Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, but that was not
that's-
as my tenure as a showrunner. Technically,
as-
Catherine got credit for
okay.
that.
Well,
But I booked
it's
that
still in
guest,
it's still
so
in the
I'll-
history though.
It's still in the history, but he's not in this book.
That's true. He's not, because we didn't bring that
Would you
book.
mind just describing? So the guest
this
book.
is my
This
book.
is bought
Yeah,
by the
that's true.
showrunner, correct? This isn't just
Correct.
for the show. This is for you.
Yes, this is for me. I will take this home tonight, and I will, as I go to sleep,
Cradle
read
it.
back the stories of all the people.
Shed a
who
few
came.
tears.
Yeah, shed a few tears. The whole.
Yeah.
In the 5 seasons that I worked here, there were the great guests, and there were the bad guests, and there were the times in between. But there were always some guests that like really stood out to me, like memories. Like I will never forget, Lily Galici, who gave me those fake eyelashes my very first time on air, or Bryan Cranston, obviously, or like Miss LA, who was totally lying about being Miss LA. We had her on here as Miss LA. She was not.
Investigate her.
And but she gave me this huge kiss as we were going to black at the end of like the show. What are these memories of these like really unique and special guests that you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that stands out to me the most, just right now, and it's recent, it was last Thursday, because I don't know if I told you, but I hosted
Oh, I didn't know that.
a show last Thursday.
I missed it.
Yeah,
I
so
missed
that
my
was-
regular
it was his first
Trojan
show.
Vision
It was my
watch.
first show hosting, and so I did that, and that's going to have to stand out to me, because it was just like, I've never sat in this seat either, and that was super exciting
What'd
for
you
me.
think?
And do you have a greater appreciation for what we do?
Oh,
We're not
yeah.
just
No,
pretty
I
faces on
complete-
camera.
Yep, I completely, but I always appreciate what the hosts do, because I know how much work goes into it, and the pressures of it. I mean, it's a really hard job. I mean, I was sitting here like, oh my God, I have 8 more minutes of questions
I'm
that I need to ask.
looking over my shoulder
right
right now
now.
to see 6:58:30 as my time out to know there's a
Yes,
hard out.
exactly. So, that was something that I'll definitely take away from this. I'm so lucky that I got to really accomplish like every single job of this show. Like, I really think that I'm happy that I took it to like the fullest extent that I could go.
And I think at the same time, Cole and I are here in front of the camera, but like the amount that goes on in this show behind the
We don't
camera,
do
like
anything. We
I'm
just
lucky enough
talk.
every week I'll ask Sam, I'll say, okay, who do I have? And immediately he has it. He has information on the person. So your role has makes it so much easier for not just us but everybody watching. So I brought on Cole today as a way just to say thank you for that.
Yes,
It's really meant
and I
a
wanted
lot.
to be here when Dan reached out. When a brother calls, I answered the call and said, I will be
fraternity
here.
that is
Yes,
Trojan Vision.
That is Trojan Vision host, and I answered the call, and I couldn't imagine a better way to end out the school year and the season. Then with your last show, I brought cookies, so we're going to eat them here on the air.
Oh, joy.
They're lemon ricotta.
One
of my roommates made
this
them.
is a
and I stole
throwback.
them.
Yeah, this is a throwback to our special episode.
That's
that we
why I
had.
brought them.
So Sam, we have about a minute left. Any closing statements you want to make? Any thank yous?
Oh, I'd like to thank everyone at Trojan Vision. Thank my parents for this Academy Award. No, and I wish Bella.
Do they watch?
They are not
Mine
watching now.
stopped.
They are. They're
Mine
not
still do,
watching
I
now. I don't. Yeah, we'll see if anyone's watching. I would really like to thank
Dan's
everyone.
phone number is.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone. I wish Bella all the best. And I just remind people that we will be back in the fall for
That's
CU
true.
for another season. Can you believe it? We were renewed.
Cannot. We were renewed.
We were renewed.
For a
People-
21st
they keep
season
doing it. Yeah,
of
20th
CU
season. Well,
Yes.
at USC.
looks like that will do it for time. Sam, do you want to give the send-off for today?
I just want to
Sure.
say thank you, Sam, for all your hard work. We
course.
really appreciate it.
Thank you very
No problem.
much.
Thank you guys. This is Dan Toomey. This is Cole Sullivan. I'm Sam Newman. Thank you so much for watching this season of See You at USC. We will see you in the fall. Have a good night.
Bye.
Wow.
What up, dog?